freedom is calling on the other side of the wind. So we keep on walking, though it tears through our skin. Feeling like a warrior that's not afraid to bleed. The fight inside's in all of us, so we won't concede. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, down, down. You can't hold us down, no. You can't hold us down, down, down. Yeah, down, down, down. Can't hold us down.
Welcome in, fam. Welcome into a very special AR Live interview, everybody. And thank you guys for being here with me today, hosting, of course, Scott17. And Scott has a very special guest with us. Scott, I'm going to let you take it from here and do the introductions. Thank you to all the fam for being here today. Hit that red pill thumbs up on Pilled and Rumble. Get this shared out on social media. Thank you guys so much. Scott, please bring in your guest, and thanks for doing this, everybody.
Welcome to a special edition of AR Live. We got our guest, Isaac Holyx. Is that, did I pronounce it correctly?
Holyx. Holyx like alcohol. It's the easiest.
Gotcha. And he is running for Senate out of Washington State, out of the Clark County area. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Isaac?
I was born and raised here in Washington State. I lived outside of like Vancouver in the small town of Battleground my entire life. I grew up working for my dad. He's a carpenter. He builds cabinets and houses. He's a small business owner. So I grew up, working with my dad, building homes in the construction trade. Recently, the shop caught fire not too long ago. So I had to completely switch careers and start over in life at 35 years old, which wasn't much fun. Whole new business, whole new career. Now I do software, photography, video work. And then, right as I started that and then started building my business, COVID hit, and then Joe Biden hit.
So Bidenomics hit.
Yeah, so needless to say, it's been a complete and total disaster. I mean, trying to start over and build a business and a life in this environment. So yeah, I understand how people are struggling right now. So
Understood. So you're running for Senate up in Washington. Is that what's going on?
Yep, I'm running against Maria Cantwell.
All right, got you. So I guess for people that don't know, and I guess, Scott, you could speak to this well, being a Washington native, and my dad was actually born in Spokane. So what type of a political climate, where are we at now in Washington? Maybe you can give us your perception, and Scott, if you want to follow up with some questions or thoughts. But if you want to give just our listeners, I'm sure we have patriots in Washington. One of my co-hosts, of course, Voltron, shout out. She's also from Washington State. So give us an idea of what you're facing, what we're looking at, and the madness that's going on right now politically in Washington.
Okay. First of all, the Republican base in Washington is more engaged, more enthusiastic, more involved than ever, which is really, really nice to see. Voter enthusiasm is up, and people are more engaged than ever. I've noticed that people are doing their due diligence this time around and actually looking into the candidates. I've been getting tons of emails of people asking questions, and I haven't been involved in politics previously, so I'm not sure if this is normal, but just from what I'm seeing, it seems to be that voter engagement is through the roof. And then as far as Democrats go, old school, like real JFK style Democrats. We're not talking about woke
we're talking like classic liberals.
Yes, classic Democrats. They're turned off by the woke agenda. They think their party's gone crazy, and they don't understand why they just won't stop. And those people feel politically alienated by the leadership, and they feel like they don't have a home politically. So my main message to all those people is you are not politically homeless. You have representation here. America First is not far right. It's not extreme. It's common sense that all Americans should be able to agree on. And that message seems to be resonating with those voters. Independents are strongly turned off by everything. They're looking for a new direction. And now, on top of everything, those voters are upset because they were lied to about Joe Biden.
Right.
For years, they were told, oh, okay, he's good to go. Joe's good to go. This is the best version of him I've ever seen. I mean, you heard that from everybody. And then all of a sudden it was like, nope, you've got to go. And now we're replacing him with Kamala, supposedly, when they didn't have a primary. Nobody voted for Kamala.
Yeah.
That wasn't it. Now she made a few phone calls and went Sunday night. And then by Monday, she's like, Sunday, I'm going to work hard to earn this nomination. And then Monday, she supposedly had it sealed up.
Secures the delegates. Yeah,
right. You made a few phone calls. There was a lot of hard work there, right? So, I mean, it's kind of insulting. And if I was a Democrat voter, I would be pissed, frankly. I mean, it's like, this is what you did to the party. People like Maria Cantwell lied to your face for 3 years, 4 years, telling you that Joe Biden was good to go, that you need to vote for him because he's got the plan. And then they pull this right before in July. And I said, this is unprecedented. Like, the Democrats don't even have a presidential nominee in July going into the election, right?
Yeah.
That's insane. And their chances just were nuked. And it was all done by these power hungry people who couldn't just come out and have done this a long time ago, and the leadership has thrown the party into shambles. And I keep saying, if you're a Democrat, you have no voice or choice right now. They wanted Bernie. Bernie was pushed out
right.
from Biden. I mean, he was pushed out by Clinton.
Hillary.
So, yeah. So I think that Democrat voters are waking up. I think Washington is turning purple. Maria Cantwell's been in office longer than I've been alive. So that's insane.
True.
And people are looking. This is the other thing too, is that Joe Biden's age, all the discussion around his age, is hurting older candidates down ballot. And I've noticed the one common denominator that everybody seems to want right now is they want younger leadership. They want younger representation. They don't want somebody who's in their 80s, who's been there forever. They want someone who's actually going to have to live with the consequences of their choices and their decision making. So I think that's hurting them down ballot. So I think between all of those things, and then this year the Republican Party in Washington State, anyways, finally decided to embrace ballot harvesting.
Yeah,
I've been saying for the longest time, if you don't play the game, you can't win at all. There's no chance of winning if you don't play the game. And unfortunately, Democrats have set the rules in Washington State, and those are that's just the thing you have to play. And you need to do it legally, but we need to have ballot collecting stations in churches, gun stores, everywhere you can. Everybody needs to turn in their ballot.
Vote out.
Yep, you need to vote, and you need to vote early. You need to get it in. Just collect every single ballot that you can. And they're finally embracing that strategy. So I think between the voters waking up, I think between the ballot harvesting strategy, I think between the enthusiasm of the base and Trump being on the ticket because he brings out voters that don't normally come out to play, and he brings them out in large numbers. I think that if we get the right candidate in that can rally that base, that can appeal to those Democrats and those independent voters, and if we scrape off, a large portion of independents, handful of Democrats, we get the base to come out in mass, and we can win. And that's the other thing too, is that I bring out young voters. So young voters respond to me very well. People in their, I'm younger than I look. I'm in my 40s, but when younger voters I notice talk to me, they don't think they're talking to somebody in their 40s or their 50s, right?
Right.
I think they're talking to somebody who's the same age. So I tend to bring out young voters better than other candidates. And then when the older voters find out that I'm, actually old enough to be in the room, it makes them feel a little bit more comfortable. And so I'm appealing to a very large demographic. So I have a clear path. We'll just see how this plays out. And the other thing that I've been saying is that if the primary doesn't go my way, I'm going to head straight into 2028, right?
Yeah.
I'll have the name recognition. I'll have known how the whole process goes. I'll have been on the ballot. Trump will still be president. He can still make endorsements. Hopefully, I'll have gotten some national attention if I do well and I go on to the general and I do well. So, there's a clear path going forward. So, I mean,
Right on.
but yeah, I think with some time, I think if it doesn't happen this time, another thing that they're old. So I think that if we make them put up a big fight, right, with a younger candidate, and say I went in to get against Maria and made her put up a hell of a fight and it was really, really close and she actually had to work for it. Patty's gonna look at that in 2028 and being older and all that, and she might think to herself, I don't know if I want to go up against him. I don't know if I want to do that.
Now they may have to put somebody else in newer. Right.
Exactly. So either way, I mean, I think that if it doesn't happen this time, it will happen in 2028, and I'm extremely optimistic that Washington State is finally going to have some equal representation. Right? We've had Democrat rule for 30 years, and I think it's time for, and I think Washington's ready for that change. So,
yeah,
I hope you're correct in that. I really do.
Well, you're out there talking to people and you're campaigning. What type of responses are you get? What are you hearing from people? Like, what are the general gripes? What do you hear? I'm sure police and lack of police is one thing that you probably hear. Lack of law enforcement. Now it's one comparable in California. But what are some of the concerns you're hearing from voters?
Well, I'm running a federal race, so the majority of what I'm hearing is related to federal concern.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to keep that in mind.
Okay.
But it's pretty much this. It's pretty much what you think it would be, right? The corruption, right? The insane spending, the out of control border, our public schools, boys being allowed into the girls' bathroom. That's a really big concern. The public schools are a huge concern. The budget and the out of control spending. People keep asking me, how are you going to deal with the out of control spending? How do we get the budget under control? How do we stop this madness? That's one that I keep getting quite a bit. So so it's the things that you would think that people are concerned about. Top three issues as far as I'm concerned are the inflation, border, and weaponization of the government.
Yeah, absolutely.
Public schools fourth, and then of course law enforcement, but that all falls more trickles down to the local level. So
yeah, we just I guess the reason I asked was we hear a lot of stories coming out of Seattle, and I know, Scott, you were kind of going on about King County and how much of the vote can be garnered there, and I don't know if you want to add to that, Scott, but anything that you want to add on there too, feel free. But yeah, I would just a couple of things, because I think California and Washington, I think we have some of the same problems. I mean, everything that you just listed.
We mimic you guys. It seems to be like the Pacific Pac?
Right. Between Oregon and the other two states, 100%.
Well, these people aren't intelligent and they don't have any original ideas. So people like Gavin Newsom and Jay Inslee, they're not smart. They just hear whatever they're told, and that's why it all copies each other, because none of them have original thoughts or ideas.
Yeah, I have the same hope, I think, that you've got as far as the state of California, because Newsom turning out in 26, that'll hopefully continue to pave the way for common sense. Although I wouldn't be surprised if Newsom actually runs for president in 28. That's something I think we may see happen. So,
I wouldn't be surprised by that one bit. Dude's definitely power hungry, and he's definitely got presidential aspirations. So, but I mean, that'll be a disaster. Anybody who runs against him, all you have to do is say, "Well, look at what he did to California. That'll turn. America will become California. Vote for that."
Yeah, I think you're right.
Election over.
100%. So do you have any, not to get too off base of Washington, and Scott, I'll pass it back to you for a few more questions, but what are your thoughts on this past couple weekends as far as the this whole assassination bid with Trump? You have any thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think I keep going back to the fact that I wasn't even surprised. I wasn't even the slightest bit shocked. And that alone speaks to where we're at as a country. When you have the mainstream media, when you have elected officials, when you have powerful people constantly using language like Trump is Hitler, he's going to end all of your rights. He's going to end democracy. It will be the end of America as we know it, right? You only use that language for one reason. You use that language because you want violence to ensue.
Yeah.
You want somebody to try and kill the man. That's why you dehumanize him. That's why you use that language. I mean, and the funny thing is that after that happened, the mainstream media had to denounce it. And it just goes to show how completely full of crap they all are, right? Because if anything they said was true and he was literally Hitler and he was literally a threat to all of us, then they would have been celebrating somebody tried to take him out. They wouldn't have been denouncing. So at the same time, at that, it was an open admission of we didn't believe any of what we're saying. And when they said, "Oh, now we need to bring down the temperature and start uniting," it's like, no, we will not be uniting with you. The only uniting that will be happening is all of us uniting against you, because you are the people that created this scenario. You are the people that created this situation knowingly, because and you missed your shot, right? You took your shot and missed. Now you have to backtrack, right? So, I mean, this was the inevitable result of 6 years of nonstop madness, nonstop dehumanization. And the sad part of it is that that's only going to extend down ballot. I mean, I don't have Secret Service protection, right?
Yeah.
Like, what if they can do that to him? What can they do to somebody like me, right? I mean, so that's why it needs to stop. And I've been speaking out against it this whole time. That's also why I've been saying, if you have a family and kids, this might not be the time to get involved. If you're going to run for office, I mean, everybody has to make that decision for themselves, but the left is absolutely rabid. They'll go after your wife. They'll go after your kids at school. They'll try and get you fired from your job.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's why I think it's a good thing that I'm not married and I don't have kids, because there's nobody that they can come after. I wouldn't want to put my family in that kind of
understood
in that kind of fire. So, but yeah, it was inevitable. So, I mean, and that's just, it's sad.
Yeah, totally agreed. Well said.
Yeah, and that's just where we're at as a country, and hopefully the attempt on his life woke people up, right? I mean, like, at the same time, I wasn't shocked at all. I hope that other people who weren't paying attention are, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully that notification didn't pop up in the video.
No, you're good.
You're good.
You're good. Scott, go for it, man.
Yeah.
So I want to dig into you a little bit here. What made you decide you wanted to run for politics? What was that deciding factor that you just said, okay, I got to do this?
It was COVID.
COVID?
Yeah, I was done. At COVID, I was just, it just go to show how quickly representatives can turn into tyrants, right? How
good point.
Quickly that line is crossed, and it's always for your safety.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it should have been a swift reminder to everybody how quickly governments can become tyrannical and how little there is that you can do about it. I mean, look at what we saw happen in all these other countries like Australia. I mean, China, they were just locking people down in their apartments. I mean, one apartment building caught fire, and you could hear the screams of the people in the background because they were locked in the building because they closed everybody in and then didn't even think about that. I mean, so, and then Australia, people being rounded up and sent off to COVID camps, things like that. That's scary stuff.
Yeah.
And if we don't have the right people in power, if the people aren't aware of their rights, if they don't know how our government is supposed to work, they can't be empowered to stop things like that. So that's one of the main reasons I decided to run. And then, so I decided that a while ago, and I was going to run in 2022. And I didn't know about Tiffany Smiley until the voters pamphlet came out. Not the voters pamphlet, that's after, till the candidate, the week of registration opened for the candidates, and you can check to see who registered. They give you a file. So I was looking through that, and I saw Tiffany Smiley, and I was new on the scene. I had just announced my candidacy. I was trying to raise a little bit of money. It had been like a week, and of course, you're not going to raise any money in a week as a new candidate. just putting your name out there. This stuff takes time. So,
Right.
and then I saw she had a good following going. So it's like, okay, I'm going to step back. I'm going to tell, I had a few voters at that time. It's like, vote for Smiley. She's got the momentum. It's not about me. It's about America. Go Smiley. And I met with her and talked with her and told people to go, vote for her. 2024 came around and I just wasn't seeing anything. That's the other thing when I had to decide for office too. I prayed on it for a while and I didn't know which office. You can start locally. There's a lot of
Yeah,
offices
yeah,
to choose.
yeah.
And I was thinking about Congress and I got a flyer from Joe Kent. I was like the day before, the day after I thought about it, and I was like, hey, wow, this guy seems solid. So I went to one of his rallies and talked with him, and I'm like, okay, now I'm supporting Joe Kent, so that's off the table. I'm not running against him. Not going to be a Heidi St. John or a Leslie Llewellyn and try and be a spoiler candidate because,
Yeah,
like I
yeah,
said, it's not about me. So, anyways, that path just led me to the U.S. Senate, and
Okay.
then here we are now, and we did the state convention, and they tried to get all the candidates to sign a pact to say whoever won the state convention, the other candidates would drop out and endorse that candidate who won. So for U.S. Senate, it was me and Raul Garcia. So had I signed the pact, I would have dropped out and then backed Raul for the Senate seat, right?
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, I didn't sign that pact. I didn't want to do that. I don't need to be told to do the right thing. I already did it in 2022. If I see a candidate that I will support and that I think has the momentum behind them, like I said it over and over. It's not about me. So, but I didn't see that this time around. I didn't see anything from any candidate that made me confident that they were going to do what needed to be done. There was no solid support for President Trump. There was no America First presence. Nobody speaking out about all the issues and that are important. There's a lot of fence riding, a lot of abortion talk, things that aren't necessarily important or wanted by the Republican base, right? I didn't feel like the representation was there.
Right.
So so I stepped up, right? Stepped up and running this campaign. And no matter how it goes, at least I gave people a choice, right? At least everybody in Washington State had an America First option, right? Had I not decided to run, had I not been on the ballot, you would not have that choice, would not have been there. So I'm glad that I could at least give people that choice. And I understand it's a big, big race for a big seat, and it's going to take some time, and I'm here for the commitment. So
yeah, right on. Hell yeah.
You do seem like you have some fire in you, and I like that.
Yeah, much
I
needed.
got a lot of fight in me. So
So, this kind of goes back to the whole border situation. So, we hear all this talk about presidents keeping the border open, this and that. Well, if we go back to the Constitution states that that is controlled by Congress. What are your ideas on how to make sure that border gets closed?
Well, I'm proposing the Hall border plan. I think that we need to get a team and start pushing it, and then we ram it down the Congress's throat. Basically, say you need to push this bill or get people in Congress to push the bill, right? So we need to shut down the border first of all on day one. That's what needs to happen. We need to make crossing over illegally a felony. We need to make it so you have to provide proof of amnesty when you come to the border. And if you came through another country that could have, allowed you amnesty, that you don't get amnesty. You don't get to skip over other countries. The international law states that you're supposed to go to the first country available that can grant you amnesty, not skip over 6 of them to come to America, right? So you need to provide proof of that. We need to end dreamer status. We need to require that if you are coming here illegally and you murder or rape a U.S. citizen, that you are sentenced to death. No games here. Too many Americans are dying. We're not going to play that game, right? Don't come here and rape and kill our citizens. That will not be tolerated.
Yeah.
On any level. So,
it wouldn't be tolerated anywhere else in the world, and it damn sure shouldn't here.
No, it wouldn't. So then we need to cut off all of the sanctuary cities from federal funding. You want to allow
Agreed.
in, right? You want to violate federal law. You want to be a safe harbor for the illegal invasion. You're not getting any federal funding, right? Cut them off immediately. Then we cut off all the illegal aliens from any kind of federal assistance. You don't get food. You don't get a ride. You don't get to go to an ER. Your kids don't get to go to school. You get nothing. It is a slap in the face to every single person who came here legally, who was separated from their family, who went through the process, who paid their dues, who went through the trials and tribulations. I know so many legal immigrants. I have a next door neighbor who came from Spain. I have friends who came from all over the world. They did it the right way, and they sacrificed. They were separated from their family. They put in the time. They put in the work because they respect our country. They respect our laws, and they want to be Americans, right?
Yeah.
Immigrants and invaders are two different things. Invaders
Agreed.
come across the border. They don't ask. They loot your country. They send their money, your money back to their home country. They kill and rape your citizens. They don't ask when they come in. They don't assimilate. They don't follow your laws. Those are invaders. Immigrants ask. They follow your laws. They respect your traditions and then bring some of their own to the table, right?
Yeah.
That's how this was supposed to work. But immigrating to America is not a right. People need
Agreed.
to understand you have the right to come here. That is a privilege that is bestowed upon you because we are a nation of kind people, because we have sympathy, because we know that we are privileged to be born in the greatest country in the world, and we want to share that greatness and that privilege with as many people as possible because we are compassionate, we are kind, we are Americans, right? That's what we do.
Yeah.
I feel like on some level our kindness is being taken advantage of.
Yes.
Guards, and we cannot allow it. It's the big cities. What's happening in some of these big cities like Chicago is an absolute disaster. All of the resources straight away from the Americans that live there who need it the most, and they're being treated like second-class citizens in their own country. The people that have been there, the people that have paid taxes, the people that have generations of family built up that rely on those resources the most, they're just being said, hey, nope, sorry, you're not important. We're going to put these people before you. The whole thing is it's just wrong, and no country can survive it, right? You look at like what's happening in places like Dearborn, Michigan. It looks like the Middle East. It doesn't look like America, right?
Yeah.
What's happening in France. I just had an election, and one of the second biggest parties that came out, they were all out in a a protest, and there wasn't a single French flag.
Yeah.
Right.
That's
where they're at. That's what unfettered immigration or invasion does to your country. This isn't an immigration crisis; it's an invasion.
Yeah.
An invasion it inevitably results in the loss of your country, your traditions, your culture, and that is what the globalists want. They don't want any nation state. They don't want anybody having their own customs, cultures, traditions, the laws. They despise the Constitution. America is a beacon of freedom for the world. We're the only country in the world that allows its citizens, or that doesn't. Sorry, we don't. The government doesn't allow us to do anything, right? They don't allow us to be armed. We are the only government in the American government is the only government in the world that recognizes you and mine God-given right to self-defense, to self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm showing all this stuff behind me on the wall, right? Because they are the only government in the world that recognizes that right and is sworn to protect it. Of the people, by the people, for the people. And that is a beacon of freedom. It's a beacon of hope. And it sets a precedent that the globalists and the people like in China, the CCP, they absolutely despise it. Our mere existence is a constant reminder to all of the people that there is another option. There is another way. And there is something better out there for all of us. So,
yeah.
Well said. I don't think it could have been said much better.
Yeah. Rock on. You brought up COVID. What are your thoughts on places like Seattle that you saw these counter protests? They turned cities into Chaz and stuff. Do you feel like that momentum is now completely losing steam due to this whole America First movement itself? Because you said you just spoke of a change. What do you foresee that change being coming into the next couple of years?
I think that's definitely the direction things are headed, especially with the youth. Like everybody, the trend online is that the youth is woke. No, the youth is actually pretty based, believe it or not.
They are.
Yeah, a majority of the youth is seeing what's going on right now, and they don't like it. And then you have parents now who are finally waking up and becoming civically engaged and passing that information, passing, the blessings of faith, family, and freedom, American tradition on to their children, teaching them these things for the first time that, that we didn't learn in public schools, right? So, the culture war is definitely shifting to our side. I mean, if it wasn't get woke, go broke wouldn't be a thing, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Right.
true, true.
Disney and all these other companies, they, FAFO, right? Like they found out.
Yeah,
They found out big time because we're in charge here, right? So the culture directing, the cultural zeitgeist is all moving in our direction. That pendulum never stays, one way for too long. We just have to be careful that when the pendulum does swing, it doesn't swing too far back to the right, right?
yeah,
We don't
yeah,
want to go
yeah,
too far in the opposite direction. America is the greatest place in the country because it is in the middle. It's a place where everybody can be free.
yes,
That's why we have religious freedom, a freedom of speech. Like, grand old saying, I might not like what you say, but I'll defend to the death your right to
to
say
say
it,
it.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, things like that. So, yeah, so I think the culture is definitely headed in our direction. Sorry, my cat's wanting some attention.
no, you're
Uh,
good.
yeah, so the culture is definitely headed in our direction. So I'm very, very optimistic about that. We're definitely taking back everything, like what happened with John Deere and
Yeah,
Tractor Supply Co. I mean, all the
yeah,
and people
Right.
people are waking up too. They're realizing, hey, these are just brands, right? At one point in time, the people who started the Tractor Co, they might have, belonged to all that stuff. It might have been real once, but now it's just a giant publicly traded company with some appointed CEO, and it's just branding, right? Like
right.
it doesn't mean anything. So you really need to pay attention to who you're supporting, and I think that it's empowered Americans to realize that they're in control, right? That
Yes,
consumers are in control. Sorry, Mittens is wanting some attention.
you're
Uh,
good. I got
That's
like,
a normal occurrence at America Rising Media.
yeah, I got like 4 of those. Don't worry, you're good. We love cats here.
I'm gonna go. Oh, shit. Hold on, sorry guys.
Thank you for all the support, fam. Appreciate it. If you can repost this show, and
Yes.
I know the links are getting dropped out there as well. So, no worries, man. All right, cool.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man. It happens. Trust me. Um, so you had brought up men and women's sports and transgenderism, and the I think that's a good point that you brought up with something that speaks to parents. Is it similar for you guys? And Scott, if you want to chime in too, but is it similar, Isaac, where like here in California, have Planned Parenthood in schools now? They're trying to push out the parental consent. I think you guys are fighting that fight too, right?
Yep, same playbook. Like I said, you were saying nothing's original. What? That's why. That's the other reason people need to really start paying attention to what's happening in other states, because it doesn't stay in other states. What
Agreed.
happens in California will eventually come to Washington. Eventually, it'll make its way to,
It's already started.
and it'll spread. So, yeah, these aren't unique problems that we're facing. So,
Yeah, yeah. I'm glad that you brought that up because I know that's something that I know that's something that a lot of people here, that especially within our audience, speak out about. So, as far as like your campaign and stuff, you have a website and all that stuff going. Plug away, please. Let us know all about your campaign. How are you getting resources out there? And just let us know in general anything else about your campaign. Fire away.
well, briefly for that, I want to touch on your thing you were saying about the schools. Okay.
Go for it.
I am proposing what I call the Hope Bill, all options in public education. It would create
Okay.
a national school choice and voucher system so that the federal dollars will follow the student. Right now, the federal government, I think it's spending like something like $14,000 to $16,000 per student per year on public education, K through 12. So my idea is to severely, like, basically just abolish the Department of Education or downgrade it to where it does nothing but administer the vouchers, and then send that money directly to parents in the form of a voucher that they can use at any school they want, public, private, pre-K, daycare, anything educational, private school, religious school, anything you want. So that money falls to the student. It will take the power out of the hands of the federal government, the teachers union, and the Department of Education, and it will put federal funding directly in the hands of parents, which will give them the power, right? Most parents, most people in schools, they live in the district where they pay taxes. They're not going to necessarily send their kids to different schools, right? But in those schools where the administrators are wanting to waste money, where the school board isn't paying attention, where they're calling police on the parents who just are concerned and don't want boys in the girls' bathrooms,
Right.
they can just get it together with their vouchers and say, fine, good luck running the school without federal funds, right? It will give them a place at the table, and it will put all the power in the hands of the parents where it should be, right? It'll give them a plan. What it'll also do is, I'm tired of reading about stories where, you know, a young black football star living in Chicago walked out on his front porch and took a stray bullet to the head.
Yeah.
I'm tired of hearing about that. I'm so sick of hearing about it. And that kid never should have been there, right?
Yeah.
Never should have been there. He should have been somewhere else. And that voucher might be the difference in saving somebody's life, right? And then grants, like if there's a grant at a school and they're getting there's like there's a $20,000 tuition to go to the private school.
Yeah.
And they have one grant for $20,000. Well, now if the parents have a $15,000 voucher that they can use, well, now that $20,000 grant can go to 5 students instead of 1, right? Things like that, right? So down the board, it just is good down the board. And then it also will put requirements demanding, same-sex bathrooms, same-sex sports, all DEI, ESG, social emotional learning, all gone, right? That's not allowed. Indoctrination, not allowed. Parents will have a Bill of Rights. If they don't want their kids vaccinated, if they don't want their kids to wear a mask, then they're not going to, right? Any and all conversations between teachers and counselors need to be transparent and provided to the teachers. To the parents. Parents have rights. They are not going to co-parent with the schools and with the government. And I want to make that very, very clear. So I realize that it's a big bill and we're asking for some big change, but school choice, school vouchers seem to be really, really popular. I'm really passionate about this. It's one of my biggest pieces of legislation. I think it'll do a lot of good. I think it'll save some lives. For all the Democrats talk about, wanting to save lives and helping marginalized communities, well, this will do that more than anything. And I'm hoping it can garner bipartisan support. And I'm hoping that when I get into the Senate, that will be my landmark piece of legislation that I pass. So
there you go. Boom. Love it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Go for it, Scott.
Now, would that voucher go to like homeschoolers also?
Yep, it will. There'll have to be strict requirements on that. It had to be something akin to like FEC filing, to where every single expenditure has to be recorded and receipted. And, it'll have to be, you can only spend things that are allowed. You can't just hand out $50,000 checks and not having
no checks and balances. Yeah,
that's not going to work. So it needs to come with some strict oversight and accountability that the kids are actually up to grade level. Every expenditure and receipt needs to be tracked. If not, then you have to be paid back. You can't defraud the government. So there, it needs to be strict. But that's the other huge thing. Yeah, good point. Was the homeschools. All the parents that homeschool their children, how much would that help you, right? Like to get a $16,000 voucher to help homeschool your child. Like that would be huge for so many parents, especially parents who are struggling right now. And there's a lot of struggling parents because the economy is just crap. So
when I was up in Alaska, my wife homeschooled my kids, and Alaska made it really easy to homeschool. And if we got something that was for the homeschooling, we just turned in a receipt and we'd get reimbursed for it.
Right.
So that Alaska had, this was 2012 to 2015. They had a great model for the homeschooling thing with co-ops and all that good stuff. So.
Yeah, well, you think they would because the weather there is so unpredictable. Half the year you probably can't even make it to public school. That should be
right.
My uncle lives up in Alaska.
Right on. Well,
my battery might run out. I gotta just plug in my phone real quick.
Go ahead, take your time. Scott, man, go ahead. Anything else you wanted to fire away on, and we'll do some final thoughts here in about 5.
Well, I had some questions, but he just answered them all.
Okay, gotcha. Combination of anything you wanted to wrap that into, then.
I'm going to go ahead and let you ask another question while I rethink my wording.
No worries. Okay, so your candidate you're running against? What are some of your biggest principles that you can call Caldwell out on? What are some of the things that you feel you would do a better job at? And if you wanted to give us a summary on that, I think it would be apropos to let you kind of rattle off on that, bro.
Cantwell. Well, if you look through her voters pamphlet, she just went on about again, women's rights under attack, codifying Roe v. Wade, which she can't do. After the Dobbs decision, the Supreme Court made it very clear that's not a federal issue anymore. The federal government has absolutely no say in that. So when Patty Murray and Maria Cantwell go on and on and on about how they're going to fight for women, they're lying. They're just straight up lying to all of their voters,
For
all
votes,
the women out there. That's a big issue to them. They're lying to their faces. I won't do that. So my whole stance has been, I will respect the ruling of the court. We're not Democrats. We're not hypocrites. We don't cry and throw a fit when rulings don't go our way. We don't try to pack the Supreme Court and all those things. So I wanted to do a conception at life bill. I am pro-life. I want to protect babies at all choice. And I was very adamant about that. But they said you can't do it. So it's off limits. So at this point in time, I will not support any legislation at a federal level around abortion.
Gotcha.
So that's where we differ in a big way. And then she's been horrible on the economy, right?
Yes.
She hasn't stood up she didn't call out Joe Biden. She lied to all her voters' faces, something that I won't do. I will not lie to my voters. One thing that I've said is that, you might not always like what I have to say. And sometimes I may be a little blunt and a little too honest. But you will always know where I stand on the issues. You'll never have to guess how I'm going to come down. And I hope that means something. And I hope that, people can at least respect that at the end of the day. I don't like being lied to by my politicians. And then she's, her other big agenda is they think that climate change is the most pressing matter of our time. People keep asking me, not people, a few people have asked me, well, what are you going to do to address climate change? It's like, are you asking me to write legislation to change the weather? Like, I mean, really?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Right.
Like, I can't write legislation to change the weather. The federal government can't even keep our vets from being homeless. How the hell are they going to lower the temperature of the planet? Like, what are you even talking about? And then that's the other thing is like, well, we might have a chance of lowering the degree. Gasoline is the lifeblood of our economy. Fossil fuels is the lifeblood of America. I am not going to cut off the lifeblood of America and ruin our entire country, tank our economy on the off chance that it might lower the temperature of the earth by half a degree. It's like, and by the way, more people die of cold than of heat. So if the temperature raised a few degrees, it would actually save lives. But I mean, that's redundant.
Yeah.
It's all based on corruption, right? And it's this extreme, crazy agenda where it all comes down to control. You won't have private property. You won't eat meat. You won't drive a car.
Own nothing and be happy.
You'll have no land. And it all comes back to that green agenda that they keep pushing. So, it's just clear. She's a 30-year do-nothing politician. For the last 30 years, she talked about how she's going to, protect women's rights, blah, 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 blah. Well, she had 30 years to do it, and she did nothing. And then it was overturned, and now she wants to cry about it, right? Like, the reason she did nothing is because she wanted it as a political talking point. She doesn't care about abortion rights. She doesn't care about Roe v. Wade. All she cares about is having scare tactics to hold over her voters' heads so that she can get elected every year. This woman has been in office longer than I have been alive. She has overseen the destruction of Washington State. She lied to all of her voters' faces about Joe Biden and the mental state he was in and why. All for power for the Democrat Party, so they could maintain their control, so they could keep power over the party and the federal government. They don't care about their voters. She doesn't care about the people of Washington. She doesn't care about her voters. She doesn't care about the economy. She doesn't care about the people dying from fentanyl. She hasn't said word one about the border. I don't even think she's gone down there. This woman does not care about Washington State or America. She's made it very clear that her agenda is enriching herself and her crony friends, and that is all this woman cares about. And I don't know how much clearer it could be that I am the exact opposite of that. I am not here to enrich myself. I am not here for myself. I don't really even want to be doing this, right? Like, I don't, like, seriously, if I win the general, or if I win the primary, I'm going to be target number one. It's going to be a mainstream media circus. They're going to come after me with everything they got.
Yeah.
They're trying to hold on to the Senate, as they know the presidency's lost. So at this point, they're just trying to salvage what they can at the Senate. So they're going to come at me with everything that they got, and they're ruthless, man.
Yeah,
And you know, there's a million and one other things that I'd rather be doing, just like Trump said, right? There's a million and one other things I'd rather be doing. I could be golfing somewhere. He could, you know, like Trump said, it could be in exotic islands. Well, I mean, I can't personally do that, right? But I mean, you know what I'm saying? There's a million and one other things that I want to be doing other than this. So, yeah. So my intent isn't to enrich myself. My intent is to come in, fix the problems that need to be fixed, get the country back on the right track, and then pass the torch. I've committed to term limits. I will not serve more than 2 terms. At the end of my second term, I will find my replacement. I will mentor them. I will bring them along. I will introduce them, show them the ropes, and then I will pass the torch. It's time to set a new precedent of how senators and the United States Senate are supposed to behave. We are not oligarchs. We are representatives. It is our job to come in, help better the nation, and then go back to live among the people and the nation that we help better. We are not better than anyone else. We are here to represent the people, and that is our job. And if we get too far away from everyday people and everyday life, then we can no longer do that. That's how people get so out of touch and corrupt. So I'm here to change things from the top to bottom. And like I said, that's probably going to make me enemy number one, but you know, whatever. I'm here for the fight. So the difference couldn't be clearer between us.
I was going to touch on that because I know we talked a little. I got to ask that one question last night on the Twitter space last night, and I was going to ask you to elaborate a little bit on that, but you just did. So, what are your plans to target the fentanyl crisis that we're under?
Well, first of all, we have to close the border, right? We have to dry up the drug supply. I think we need to declare the cartels terrorist organizations.
Agreed.
So that we can start going after their money, hit them where it hurts, right? I honestly, at this point, I would not be opposed to President Trump laying down the red line with Mexico and saying, we're declaring the cartels terrorist organizations, either get them under control or we are coming in and we will drone strike and target these fentanyl labs that are killing hundreds of thousands of our people. So you know, you need to deal with this issue because we're not playing around, right? Declare fentanyl a biological weapon when it's in its pure powder form. If an officer just happens to open it up and breathe something, it can drop them like that, right? OD on the spot. That's akin to a biological weapon, right? So we start there, and then we really crack down on the cartels. We hit them where it hurts. But then it has to be a 2-step approach, especially with the opioid crisis. It has to be treated as a medical condition. I know that a lot of people don't like to hear that, but it's just the simple truth of the matter. Because just because somebody, you know, drank a bunch of soda and lived an unhealthy life and now they've made themselves diabetic doesn't mean that we don't treat their diabetes like a medical issue. It doesn't matter if it's self-inflicted. So it has to be a 2-step approach. It has to come with massive funding, and I'm an advocate for things like methadone treatment, Suboxone treatment. Those programs, when combined with very strict oversight, counseling, and you know, the proper mental health resources, the proper behavior resources, getting people back into the community, getting to the source of why they were using drugs in the first place. Those programs work. They take a long time, they take years, but the relapse rate is basically non-existent compared to 30-day inpatient treatment programs where they expect everybody to completely turn around their whole life in a month and then go back out in society and succeed. It's not feasible, right? So it has to be a 2-step approach. And I think we need to provide federal funding and resources for those clinics and those people who need them so they can get back on their feet. And I think that's how we start solving this issue. We dry up the drug flow, and then we make sure that the resources are in place for people to get the help that they need.
All right,
Yeah,
just
dude.
one last question from me. What are you going to do to combat foreign countries buying up our land in the United States?
Support legislation to stop it, point blank. I mean, China shouldn't be buying up our farmland. Countries that are hostile to our nation shouldn't be buying any of our land, period. I personally think we need to start decoupling from hostile foreign nations like that. Like, we need to bring back our manufacturing to America. Our manufacturing sector was gutted. We don't make things here anymore. Everything says made in China on it. We need to start bringing that back home. We need to start offering incentives. So I've also proposed the Holic Plan for Middle Class America, so that we identify these critical manufacturing that needs to be brought back, and then we offer tax break incentives. If you want to start the company that's going to bring this manufacturing back, you don't have to pay any federal taxes for 10 years, right? You're exempt. And everybody who works for you is also exempt, because we need to encourage people to take those manufacturing jobs, right? You can put them out there, but that doesn't mean people are going to take them. So we need to make an incentive for that. And then once those resources are in place, then we can start tariffing the other countries to make the prices the same as they are at home, even things out, and then start decoupling from the markets, start manufacturing things back at home, start, back in the day, and that all goes back to the inflation crisis and lowering housing. But back in the day, you could retire on a manufacturing salary. You could go to work in a manufacturing plant.
Correct.
You could raise 3 kids. You could buy a house. You could send them to school, and you could retire. That's gone. That dream is gone. So it's a two-step approach. Again, we can't expect people to take the manufacturing jobs if the ability for you to thrive and live the American dream on that manufacturing job is gone, right? So,
Right.
I mean, we're in a huge mess as a country, and it's going to take a new generation of leaders that are bright, that are intelligent, that are ethical, that are ready to take these problems head on, that are ready to start proposing solutions. Everybody might not agree with all of my plans, but at least it's starting the conversation, right? We have to start looking in the direction. If nobody's proposing a plan, then there can't be any change to happen at all. So,
Love it.
There it is. Wow. Well, thank you so much, fam, for all the support. And Scott, thank you for putting all of this together. Isaac, of course, once again, thank you for doing this. This was truly a blessing.
hey, thanks for having me. This
Yeah,
is awesome.
absolutely. Before you go, a couple things. One, in parting, we like to do this. If you had a message that you would like to leave everybody watching, everybody within the sound of our voice, if you had a message based on today's conversation or just in general that you would like to leave with everybody, what would it be?
It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you sit on. If you feel alienated by the political current leadership, if you feel like you are not represented or listened to, you are not politically homeless. Change is coming. There's a new generation coming. God is not done with America yet. Don't give up hope. We're going to fight. We're going to be the change that we want to see, and we're going to make America great again.
Nice. And where can people find you?
Vote Holic. Everything is just Vote Holic. VoteHolic.org is the website. Twitter's at Vote Holic. Facebook is at Vote Holic 2024. And it's a really unique name, and I'm the only thing that comes up, which is perfect. It makes it really easy to find me. So
There you go.
really easy to get a hold of too. The website on the Vote Holic forum goes directly to me. I engage and respond to everybody directly. If you go to my social media, I will interact with you. I absolutely hate how politicians don't ever comment back. It's a perfect opportunity to basically door knock online, right? So I'm not going to do that. I said I wasn't going to do that. So if you come to my social media and you have a general question and you're interacting in good faith, I will engage with you and I will interact with you. And I got to be a representative, man. That's the job. So
I will attest to that. You definitely do that.
Yeah, I'm really easy to get a hold of. So
right on. Well, all right, everybody. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate this. Up next on America Rising, we will have America Rising News, myself and Sean, coming up in just about an hour. So thank you, everybody. And truly appreciate it. And thank you to our guests. I'll run a quick outro, and we will see you guys very soon. Thank you so much, Scott. Thank you to our guest, Isaac Holyx. Thank you so much for doing this, and much appreciated, friends. We will see you shortly in just a bit with America Rising News. Much love, everybody.
Freedom is calling on the other side of the wind. So we keep on walking, though it tears through our skin. Feeling like a warrior that's not afraid to bleed. The fight inside's in all of us, so we won't concede. You can't hold us down, no. Down.